Kevin Durant is about to ruin the NBA again. According to NBA journalist Nick Wright, rumors are swirling that Durant could land with the Boston Celtics in the 2025 offseason.
Two totally unrelated people, both of whom have reputations for knowing things that other people don't know, have said to me, watch out for Durant in Boston.
Yes, you heard that right. The defending champion Celtics, already one of the most dominant teams in the league. And here's the kicker. This isn't the first time Durant has been linked with Boston. The superstar was linked to the Celtics in 2022 as well. After building close relationships with several Celtics players during the Olympics this past summer, it doesn't seem all that far-fetched.
I played with him during the Olympics, obviously. He was a great player. But that's not my decision, I love our team. I love the guys that we got.
This could be disastrous for the league. But let's be real here. This wouldn't be the first time Durant has joined an already stacked team. In fact, it's practically his signature move. Golden State Warriors, Brooklyn Nets, Phoenix Suns, and now possibly the Boston Celtics. Here's the real question. Could this actually happen? And more importantly, should it? We'll dive into the hurdles the Celtics would need to clear to make this move work. But more importantly, we'll explore what another failed Durant super team means for his legacy, and how joining yet another might change how we remember him in NBA history. Now, before we even get into the Celtics rumor mill, let's rewind a bit. Kevin Durant, often regarded as one of the best players in the history of the game, has made some interesting choices in his career when it comes to teaming up with other stars. Let's break it down. In 2016, Durant made a move that shocked the NBA world. After a crushing loss to the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals after being up 3-1, he made the controversial decision to join Golden State, a team that had just finished with a historic 73-9 record and featured the first ever unanimous MVP in Steph Curry. A super team by any definition. Durant's choice immediately sparked fierce debate.
Well, I'm viewing it as the weakest move I've ever seen from a superstar. Plain and simple. That's just how I look at it.
Was it a ring-chasing move? Or was it the right call for his career? The move led to 2 NBA championships and 2 finals MVPs, but it also ignited questions about the league's competitiveness and, more importantly, Durant's legacy.
I wanted him to stay in Oklahoma City. I want competitive balance. I don't like super teams.
Critics argued that joining an already championship-caliber team lessened the value of his accomplishments.
No amount of championships would validate Kevin Durant's move.
Many felt the Warriors didn't need him, including his own teammate, Draymond Green. That infamous argument between Durant and Draymond is seen by many as the beginning of the end of Durant's time in Golden State, setting the stage for his next move. Next, Durant headed to Brooklyn, where he teamed up with Kyrie Irving in 2019, both of them coming to the Nets at the same time, signaling the start of their super team experiment. The Brooklyn Nets were already a solid playoff team before Durant and Kyrie's arrival, making the playoffs for the first time in 4 years, led by D'Angelo Russell, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Jarrett Allen. But that success was just the foundation. When Durant and Irving signed with the Nets, it was clear that they planned to take the team to the next level by forming a dynamic duo. Brooklyn was ready to build around them, but that was just the beginning. Durant and Irving didn't just stop at joining forces. Shortly after they signed, the duo set their sights on making the Nets even more formidable by adding a third star. Enter James Harden. Brooklyn wasn't just aiming to be a playoff contender. They were going all in for a championship. Harden's trade request from the Houston Rockets allowed the Nets to strike, and despite having a solid roster, the Nets gave up a significant chunk of their future, trading away Caris LeVert, Jarrett Allen, Taurean Prince, and multiple draft picks to bring Harden to Brooklyn. This trade was bold, and it would end up being one of the pivotal moves that led to all the dysfunction and drama that would follow. Kyrie Irving's unpredictable behavior quickly became a major disruption, highlighted by his controversial stance against the COVID vaccine, which caused him to miss extensive time, including home games due to local mandates.
I was not expecting a mandate to be brought down in a way that it wasn't going to allow me to play at all. I had the opportunity to play away games still, but there was no plan in place.
Irving's prolonged absences turned what should have been Brooklyn's potential dynasty into a drama-filled distraction. Yet, the turmoil went far beyond Kyrie. Perhaps even more damaging was Kevin Durant's extensive influence within the organization, especially regarding coaching decisions. Within just 3 seasons, Durant's input contributed directly to the firing of 2 head coaches, Kenny Atkinson, who initially guided Brooklyn back to playoff relevance, and later Steve Nash, who struggled to manage the team's star-studded, chaotic roster. At one point, Durant even delivered a blunt ultimatum to Nets owner Joe Tsai, explicitly demanding that Tsai either trade him or fire Nash as head coach. These events underscored Durant's powerful, yet destabilizing role within the franchise. Durant's influence also significantly impacted the team's roster moves from the very start. During his initial sign and trade from Golden State to Brooklyn, Durant reportedly felt disrespected at the idea of being traded straight up for D'Angelo Russell. As a result, the Nets included additional assets just to appease him.
Golden State needed to include that first-round pick to the Nets before Durant would sign off because he didn't want it even visualized that he got traded straight up for D'Angelo Russell.
Another early example of Durant's substantial and ultimately disruptive control over team decisions. And it didn't stop there. According to Jake Fisher of Bleacher Report, Durant and Irving essentially forced Brooklyn's front office to sign veteran center DeAndre Jordan, despite significant hesitation from management. Fisher reported that the Nets initially only intended to give Jordan a 2-year deal, but amid the excitement of landing Durant and Kyrie, they were effectively told, if you want these 2 stars, you have to take DeAndre on a 4-year contract. This became another source of tension, simmering beneath the surface and further contributing to Brooklyn's instability. So, what did Brooklyn's super team actually accomplish despite the lofty expectations? In the end, not much. The trio of Durant, Irving, and Harden never played a full season together. Their era was plagued by injuries, personal drama, and a carousel of trade demands that shattered any chance of long-term success. James Harden requested a trade just 1 year after arriving, mid-season no less, citing frustration with the team's instability. Soon after, Kyrie Irving made his own trade request, adding more fuel to the fire. Then, Durant himself asked to be traded, not just anywhere, but to a true title contender. And for Durant, that meant one thing: Phoenix. The Suns, who were coming off a historic regular season record, finishing at the top of the Western Conference and still hungry for another finals appearance, were already built to win, and Durant simply wanted to join them and complete the puzzle. And so, Durant moved to Phoenix, hoping that this time, things would be different. The Suns were on the cusp of greatness, and many saw Durant's arrival as the final piece to push them over the top for a championship. But once again, disappointment followed. Despite the star power of Durant, Devin Booker, and Chris Paul, the Suns couldn't even get past the second round of the playoffs. It became clear that even with such a talented trio, Phoenix wasn't able to live up to the expectations. The Suns then gutted their roster even more to acquire Bradley Beal, attempting to form yet another super team. But what was supposed to be a championship-caliber roster has turned into a complete failure. At one point late in the season, Phoenix was tied for the last play-in spot with the Dallas Mavericks, a team plagued by injuries to the point of possibly having to forfeit games. However, despite that, Phoenix has fallen further behind in the standings, unable to make a move to overtake the Mavericks, even with all their star power.
Imagine if you're walking down the street and you're trying to catch up to somebody, and that person is walking backwards, and you still can't catch them. Right. That's what we're talking about with the Dallas Mavericks and the Phoenix Suns.
And just to highlight the dysfunction, there was a recent incident where Durant was seen pushing his coach's hand away during a timeout. This moment spoke volumes about the toxicity within the situation. The Suns, with all their talent, just couldn't find chemistry, and the environment seemed to be one of frustration and lack of cohesion. Durant recently rolled his ankle, and according to Shams, will miss some time. There's a real possibility that we've already seen Durant's last game in a Phoenix Suns jersey.
The changes that are likely coming to Phoenix likely start with Kevin Durant.
With his time in Phoenix looking increasingly uncertain, it raises questions about his future with the team. And that leads us to the bigger question. Where does Durant's legacy stand now? Despite the immense talent he brings, Durant's lack of leadership skills seems to be the common denominator in these failed super team experiments. Every team he's joined, from Brooklyn to Phoenix, has had its fair share of turmoil, and none have resulted in sustained success. While his time with Golden State didn't face the same issues, that's because the Warriors already had their franchise cornerstone in Steph Curry and a clear leadership structure in Draymond Green. Golden State's system was already in place, with a pecking order that didn't require Durant to take the reins. But with every other team he's been a part of, he's been expected to be the leader, and that's where things have faltered. Durant has never truly been able to take full control of a team. As Charles Barkley often says, Durant has never been the bus driver, the player who leads his team to a championship.
If you ain't driving the bus, don't walk around talking about you a champion. If you riding the bus, I don't want to hear it.
He's always been an essential piece, but never the one to carry the load when it matters most.
Like, I've always looked at KD like the ultimate complementary player. KD makes any team ever better. But is he the nucleus of a championship team?
Now, we're left questioning, can Durant ever be the cornerstone for a team? Can he truly be the leader who drives a team to greatness? Or will he always be remembered as a player who thrived when the deck was stacked in his favor? As his legacy hangs in the balance, Durant must ask himself if he can finally step up and take on the responsibility of leading a team, or if he'll always be remembered as someone who struggled when it came to truly leading a team, no matter how much talent he had around him. As far as the Celtics rumors go, pulling off a deal for Durant would require some serious financial gymnastics. With key players like Jrue Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, and all-star Jaylen Brown on the roster, making a trade work would involve moving multiple pieces. The Celtics would likely have to trade Brown straight up for Durant, or at the very least, move Derek White, Porzingis, or Jrue Holiday to duck below the second apron of the salary cap. Then, they'd have to find a way to absorb Durant's massive $54.7 million contract. All in all, it's a complicated situation that requires not just reshuffling the roster, but also making major sacrifices for a player who, let's be honest, isn't getting any younger. Why would a championship-level team like the Celtics risk all that to bring in Durant, especially when they already have the core pieces to compete for a title? So, where does that leave Kevin Durant? Could there be a team out there where Durant can actually boost his legacy? A team where he can lead them to a championship, rather than simply join the bandwagon of an already established contender? It's the ultimate question for Durant's career. If he truly wants to be remembered as a player who shaped a team's destiny and not just as the guy who hopped onto the next super team, it's time for him to find a situation where he can drive the bus, rather than just ride along in the back seat.